Okay, so OpenBuild sent me this 500mm actuator kit that they asked me to write a review for. So to get started off here first, I took everything out of the package, made sure everything was here. I got together my 3mm, my 1.5mm Allen keys, and an 8mm and a 10mm wrench. So the Allen keys will be used for the bolts, the wrenches are used for the eccentric nuts and stuff like that. So to get started, you want to get your gantry plate, and if you look at the instructions it'll tell you what holes we're using here. And so the first step is to get two 25mm bolts out of the bag that has a nice 25 on it. And what you're going to do is you're going to insert those into the smaller of the two sets of holes, just like that. And flip it over upside down so they're up like that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to grab your 6mm spacers. It's a little bag with 6 on it. Get them, slide them onto those two bolts. Then you want to get two shims. So your two shims are here. And then I'll go through in a second here how to assemble the wheels. So wheel kits, they came in individual bags. They have the nylon wheel, two bearings, shim, and a nut. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get a wheel, insert a bearing into one side of it, press the bearing in. It's pretty much flush with the edge of the wheel. Then what you're going to do is get the one shim, drop it in the center, and insert your other bearing into the other side of the wheel, and your wheels are complete. So after you do that, to all the wheels, you'll have 4 complete wheels and 4 nuts to go with them. So back to the gantry plate, you want to grab 2 wheels, slide one on each, then you want to put your nuts on. Grab your 3mm wrench or Allen key and your 8mm wrench. Snug them up. They should still spin easily. And that's the first step. So you have your 2 solid wheels on there now. So now we're going to go do the eccentric holes. So you'll need to grab the other 2 25mm bolts that you have. And again, slide them into their holes. Flip it around. Grab your eccentric nuts, which will be a bag with 2 of them. Slide them on all the way. And then you want to get 2 more shims. Put your shims on, followed by your wheels, and then the nuts. With those on, you get your 3mm Allen wrench, 8mm wrench. Just snug them up for now. Tighter, just so they don't wobble. And then once that's done, you can spin the wheels freely still. You want to adjust the eccentric nuts with the 8mm wrench so that the eccentric part is closer to the center, so the wheels are closer together. And then you want to grab your C-beam and you want to slide in your gantry plate. So my wheels are actually still a little tight, so I'm going to loosen those eccentric nuts a little bit and put it in there. Now I have some play in there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten the one eccentric that's loose and move the eccentric closer to the outside. So let's do that. Snug that guy up. Okay, so I'm going to throw that back in there. Now the other side has some play in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that side a bit further and tighten that down a bit more. And then you can slide it back in there. And my one bearing seems to be not really working that well, so for now it'll have to do. So I'm going to put that in there. There's no play, so we're going to take this guy now and we're going to gather up the Acme block, two 20mm bolts, and the two M5 nylock nuts. So the way that this is going to go is there's two center holes. This one's for if you're using a belt. So two center holes, they should line up there perfect. So that's good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to insert these nuts into there. Like that. We're going to put the two bolts through. Together. That. Just slide it on. And then tighten those bolts with your 3mm Allen key. Actually, you have to put 3mm spacers in between the plate there, so you'll get your 3mm spacers. You put your bolts on, your 3mm spacer, and then you can put your block on. Other side, you're going to do the same thing. It's going to be maybe a bit trickier to line up. Okay, and so just snug it up for now. Snug. Okay, so everything works fine except for my one bearing here, which doesn't seem to be too happy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this back in there. I'm going to grab my Acme rod. I'm going to find the hole. And I'm just going to thread it down. Until, not quite halfway, almost halfway. And then move on to the next step, which is where you're going to slide on your locking collars. So you're going to get locking collars out. Now there's small bolts with these. So what I'm going to do so I don't lose them is right away I'm going to find the hole and just start it a little bit and then slide it right on right away. And same with the other one. And slide it on right away. And then I'm going to gather the two 8mm shims and the two 8mm bearings. So we will get the two shims, look for the rounded edge of the shim, put it towards the bearing, which is the end of the rod. So do that on both ends. And then slide a bearing on to each end. Now the bearing really doesn't have to go far. Mine seem to slide pretty good. Sometimes the tolerances won't let it slide at all. So once you do that, you're going to set your bags aside, get one end plate and some 20mm screws. You need 4 of them. You're going to get the end of your plate here. The hole in this plate that's recessed goes in, so the bearing will sit in it. So you put that there. Get your nuts, or your bolts, sorry, thread them in. All the way. And last one. And then set it on a flat surface. And tighten them. Like that. Now you're going to slide the rod down until it's about flush with the end of your plate. Slide your bearing into the hole, slide everything down, and then when you're about level with the end, you can actually tighten down the Allen bolt there, and then spin the whole assembly around. Get 4 more 20mm bolts, your other end plate, slide the end plate on, and again thread all 4 bolts in. Now everything was pre-tapped, so you didn't have to tap anything. Everything threads in really nicely. That one's in. Good. Lift it up. Make sure all your bolts are in and tight. Okay. Some flat surface, press down and tighten all your bolts. Slide the bearing into the hole with your shim and your collar. Tighten those two, and then you should be left with a little bit of rod sticking out. So you're going to grab your flexible coupling, slide it on, tighten it, So you should be able to. Whoa. 1 second, I just not tight enough yet. Okay. So when you're flush with the end there, press it against, tighten. So you're going to make sure that the collars are nice and tight to the ends. You're going to push it and tighten it. So you have no play and it should move. So then you'll slide. You'll notice the coupling has a 6mm side and 8mm side. Slide the 8mm slide onto the end and leave a few millimeters. You can always adjust it later. So now you should be able to turn it. So it goes pretty good. Mine makes a little noise because the bearing is bad. So now you can grab your two 55mm bolts, your two 40mm spacers, and your stepper motor. So what you're going to do, slide these bolts in from the back of the stepper motor forward. Actually, I'm going to do mine this way. Slide your spacers on, spin the beam around, and then with your 3mm Allen wrench, line everything up. And everything should slide in. So you go around, do the same to the other side. You'll have to tighten them evenly so that it goes in straight. So once everything is tight, that one's good. And this one there, flip it back over and